20 black cars surrounded my apartment at 6 a.m. Men in suits blocked the entire street. My neighbors were filming through their windows, whispering that the police had finally come for someone. I stood there in my worn bathrobe, holding a cracked coffee mug, completely terrified. Then a little boy stepped out of the lead car and ran toward me with open arms. "Miss Grace, I told you my dad would come." What I didn't know was that the half sandwich I gave away last night, the only food I had, would be worth more than I ever imagined. If you enjoy stories like this, hit that subscribe button. Now, let's begin. I've been a waitress at Murphy's Diner for 11 years. 11 years of coffee stains, aching feet, and smiles I had to fake, even when my heart was breaking. My name is Grace, I'm 42 years old, and I have exactly $37 in my bank account. That night, my manager called me into his office. Bob Murphy, a man who inherited the diner from his father and resented every second of running it. He didn't even look at me when he spoke. Business was down, he said. He needed to make cuts. My last shift would be Friday. After 11 years, I was getting 3 days' notice. I wanted to argue, to remind him of every holiday I worked, every double shift I covered, every time I came in sick because no one else would. But what was the point? People like me don't get to argue. I walked back to the counter and continued wiping it down. The same counter I'd wiped 10,000 times before. Outside, rain began to fall. The diner was empty by 10 p.m. Just me and the flickering neon sign that buzzed like a dying insect. I had saved half a turkey sandwich for my dinner. It sat wrapped in a napkin behind the counter, the only thing I'd eat until my next paycheck. The door opened. A gust of cold wind blew in, followed by a small figure. A boy, maybe 8 or 9 years old, soaking wet. His clothes were torn, his shoes had holes, he looked like he hadn't eaten in days. He stood there, dripping on the floor, eyes scanning the room with a mix of fear and hope. Then he looked at me. "Ma'am, do you have any food?" "I don't have money, but I can wash dishes. I can sweep, I can do anything." His voice cracked on the last word. I looked at him, then at my sandwich, the only food I had. My stomach growled. I'd skipped breakfast and lunch. I had $3 in my purse and a stack of bills waiting at home. But his eyes, God, his eyes, they reminded me of my own son, Michael. He would have been 12 this year if the accident hadn't taken him. If that drunk driver hadn't run that red light. I unwrapped my sandwich, heated it in the microwave, and added a cup of soup from the pot. We were supposed to throw away at closing. I set it in front of him. "Eat, sweetheart. You don't owe me anything." He stared at the food like it was treasure. Then he looked up at me with tears forming in his eyes. "Why are you being nice to me?" Everyone else told me to go away. My heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. Because someone was nice to me once, when I had nothing. That's how it works, we pass it on. He ate like he hadn't seen food in days, probably because he hadn't. When he finished, he hugged me, his small arms wrapped around my waist, and he whispered, "My dad will thank you, I promise." I smiled sadly. "Just stay safe, okay?" "That's all the thanks I need." He nodded and ran out into the rain. I never expected to see him again. Bob was waiting for me when I came in the next morning. His face was red, his arms were crossed. Next to him stood a woman I didn't recognize, sharp suit, sharper eyes. "Grace, this is Patricia Holmes. She's from District Health Inspection." My stomach dropped. Patricia stepped forward, holding a clipboard. "We received an anonymous report that this establishment served food from waste containers to a vagrant last night, reheated soup that was scheduled for disposal. Is this true?" I couldn't lie. I've never been good at lying. There was a hungry child. I gave him some soup and a sandwich. My sandwich, the soup was still fresh. Bob cut me off. "That's a health code violation. You served disposed food on premises. I could lose my license." Patricia made notes on her clipboard. "We'll need to conduct a full inspection. Mr. Murphy, I suggest you take immediate action regarding the employee in question." Bob turned to me. His eyes were cold. "You're done, Grace. Not Friday. Now, get your things and leave." 11 years, gone in 11 seconds. I walked to the back, grabbed my coat and my cracked coffee mug, the only personal item I kept there, and walked out the back door. The rain had stopped, but the sky was still gray. I sat on the curb behind the diner and cried. I barely slept that night. I lay in my tiny apartment, staring at the ceiling, wondering how I would pay rent, how I would buy food, How everything had fallen apart because I gave a hungry child a meal. Maybe the world punishes kindness. Maybe being good is just being stupid. At 6 a.m., I heard engines. Lots of them. I stumbled to the window, still in my bathrobe, and froze. Black cars, 20 of them, lined up on my street like a presidential motorcade. Men in suits stepped out. They moved with precision, surrounding my building. My first thought was that I was being arrested, that Bob had pressed charges, that giving soup to a homeless child was somehow a crime. Someone knocked on my door. I opened it, hands trembling, still holding my cracked coffee mug. A tall man in a black suit stood there. Behind him, 2 more men with earpieces. "Miss Grace Chen?" I nodded, unable to speak. He smiled, the first human expression I'd seen from any of them. "Please don't be alarmed. Someone very important would like to thank you." Before I could respond, I heard a voice I recognized. "Miss Grace." The little boy from last night came running toward me, but he looked completely different. Clean, well-dressed, hair combed, smiling. He crashed into me with a hug. "I told you my dad would come. I told you." The crowd of suits parted, and a man stepped through. He was tall, silver hair, expensive coat, the kind of presence that made the air feel heavier. He stopped in front of me, looked at the cracked mug in my hands, and then at my face. "Miss Chen, my name is Edward Harrison. I'm the CEO of Harrison Enterprises." I knew the name. Everyone knew the name. Harrison Enterprises owned half the commercial real estate in the city. They were worth billions. My son James ran away 2 nights ago. We had an argument about something foolish. He wanted to prove he could survive on his own. He paused. His composure cracked for just a moment. For 36 hours, I had every security team in the state searching for him. Police, private investigators, anyone I could pay. He looked at his son, then back at me. "And while all of them failed, you, a stranger with nothing, gave him the one thing he needed. Not just food, kindness, dignity. You treated him like a human being when everyone else saw a dirty, homeless child and looked away." I didn't know what to say. He was hungry. Anyone would have. "No." His voice was firm. "Not anyone." We tracked his movements. He went to 11 places before your diner, restaurants, convenience stores, a church. Every single one turned him away. 11 places. An 8-year-old boy, alone in a storm, rejected 11 times. You were the only one who saw him, the only one who cared. Tears streamed down my face. I lost my job because of it. They said I violated health codes. Mr. Harrison's eyes went cold. "Murphy's Diner?" I nodded. He turned to one of his men and said something I couldn't hear. The man nodded and made a phone call. "That situation will be resolved within the hour. Now, Miss Chen, I have a proposal for you." Mr. Harrison handed me an envelope. Inside was a check. The number had so many zeros I couldn't process it. "This is for you. No conditions. No strings." I tried to give it back. "I can't accept this. I just gave a kid a sandwich. You gave my son hope when the world gave him nothing. You reminded him and me that goodness still exists." He reached into his coat and pulled out another envelope. "This is the deed to a property downtown. It's yours. Do whatever you want with it." I was shaking. This couldn't be real. "Why all this for a sandwich?" Mr. Harrison knelt down so we were eye level, something I never expected a billionaire to do, because my son came home different. "He told me what you said, that someone was kind to you once and you were passing it on. That's the most valuable lesson anyone has ever taught him." He stood up. "I've spent my whole life building wealth, but you showed my son something I never could, that being rich means nothing if you can't be kind." James grabbed my hand. "Miss Grace, will you come see my room? Dad said you can visit whenever you want." For the first time in years, I laughed. A real laugh. Later that day, I learned what happened to Murphy's Diner. The health inspector, Patricia Holmes, was discovered to be Bob Murphy's cousin. The anonymous report was fabricated to justify firing me without severance pay. Mr. Harrison's legal team filed complaints with 3 regulatory agencies before noon. By evening, Murphy's Diner was under investigation for multiple violations, real ones this time: tax fraud, labor violations, a pattern of wrongful terminations. Bob Murphy called me 17 times that day. I didn't answer. Some karma arrives faster than others, but here's the thing: I didn't feel happy about it. I didn't feel satisfaction watching him fall. I just felt tired. Tired of a world where doing the right thing is punished, and the only way to get justice is if a billionaire happens to intervene. Most people who show kindness don't get 20 black cars showing up at their door. Most people just get fired. 6 months later, I opened a small cafe in the property Mr. Harrison gave me. I called it the Warm Mug. The concept was simple: anyone could eat, whether they could pay or not. Those who could, paid what they wanted. Those who couldn't, paid nothing. On the wall behind the counter, I hung my old cracked coffee mug in a glass frame. Beneath it, a small plaque read, "Being broken doesn't mean being useless. Keep pouring." James visited every Saturday, sometimes with his father, sometimes alone. He'd help bus tables, chat with customers, and always order the turkey sandwich. One Saturday he asked me something that stuck with me. "Miss Grace, do you ever wish you hadn't given me that food, since you lost your job because of it?" I thought about it. "No," I said, "because if I hadn't, I wouldn't be me. And I like being me even when it's hard." He nodded slowly. "I want to be like you when I grow up. Kind even when it costs something." I hugged him. "You already are, James. You already are." That night, I walked home through the same streets where I used to count coins and skip meals, the same streets where I once cried behind a diner, wondering why goodness was punished. I still don't have all the answers. I still don't know why the world works the way it does. But I know this: I gave away my last sandwich on the worst night of my life, and somehow it became the first chapter of my best story. Not because a billionaire showed up, but because I chose to be kind when I had every reason not to be. That choice was mine, and no one can ever take it from me.